Hello, my soccer universe. Recently, Ajax announced that they're going from this logo, this monstrosity, if you would like, to the old logo. And I understand it. I mean, while I'm quite used to this logo, this was never a logo that I really liked that much when I compare it to this one that is kind of full color and so on. However, this also flies fully in the face of how modern logo changes have been. It was all about simplification, taking out elements, making it more monochromatic, or go for a round logo. Yes, it's also a round logo, but simplifying to make it stand out on the internet. However, fans really don't like it. And honestly, when you go back to something that is as old and sacred as I would argue this logo is, where even fans that grew up with the more modern logo will say, yeah, this is an improvement because this is how the old Ajax was, that always will unite a fan base. And Ajax are not the only team that went back to an old logo. We, for instance, have the case of Atletico Madrid, where it's maybe a little bit more contentious to go from the more modern logo here to the old logo there. Personally, while I like the old logo overall, I always felt that the way they incorporate the bear and the tree in the new logo is actually much smarter because there's a much better use of space. I was always bugged about this white space here. If they would have made the new logo design a little bit less radical, like keep the amount of stripes, keep the amount of stars around it, maybe keep even the shape of the logo, and maybe just keep turning the bear and the tree around and maybe color this in. This might not have been as controversial. However, what it is, Atletico Madrid are back to the old logo and the fan base loves it. And so I thought, well, I could probably talk about more modern logo development and what I think about it. And if you're interested in the topic, please drop a line below, or maybe even critiquing some currently released logos and comparing them to the old one. That could already be fun. But what are other teams that I would like to see return to an older logo? I'm not saying to the old logo because that Ajax logo was not the first Ajax logo, but it's the most commonly associated one with Ajax, especially the one that they won all those European Cups in the 70s and has been for longest in use. And so let's look at all the 8 leagues that I'm usually covering on my channel, and let's pick 1 or 2 teams from each of these leagues. I can tell you already, there will be no team from Portugal, because I think Portuguese crests in general look already very old school, potentially sporting. Could go to an old crest and not have it look like, we see it here on the bottom, a little bit like an Adidas advert with the 3 stripes. There was a recent development with Benfica that says we cannot recolor the logo, which I think is another great initiative, because monochromatic logos are also very, very contentious among more traditional fans. There are also no jerseys from Germany. I think the only logo from the current Bundesliga teams that I could think of that I would like to have changed is Wolfsburg, and that's not that big of a change to begin with. But yes, I would like to have the W with the towers from a castle and not this kind of modern, slightly decentralized logo, but it's not a big change. Germany is doing really well, especially since some teams have already gone back to the old crests, like we have Stuttgart, like we have Frankfurt, for instance. And if their crest changes, they are so subtle. I mean, look at Bayern. They have changed over the past 10 years the logo twice. Once they just slightly adjusted the lozenges, and the other one they just adjusted the colors. Very subtle changes. Similar to what Feyenoord did this year, where if you look at the before and the after, if you have them next to each other, you don't even see the changes. You actually have to have them over each other and switch back and forth that you actually see what changes happened there. That is subtle logo adjustment and keeps the brand intact. I think the Feyenoord logo is a really, really good example. And so the only team from these 3 leagues that I'm talking about is Ajax, that will already switch back to the old logo. But the first team that I want to talk about is staying in La Liga, where Atletico Madrid already went back to the old logo. And La Liga, similar to Portugal, have a lot of old style logos that I really like. There's maybe the point of contention to having many monochromatic logos. I'm looking at what Real Madrid is doing very frequently. Valencia also, and this team that I'm choosing here also have done it, but I also think that they could return to a slightly older crest. I'm talking, of course, of Barcelona. And I have to say, this logo I always liked more than this one. I mean, at first you don't realize it because the shape is so similar, but I like that this one is way more squat. I also like that the area around the ball is much bigger on the old logo than is on the new logo. But what I like most about is how the FCB is kind of filling out the yellow space. What the new logo is not doing. It's too much stuck together. In addition, it uses a very small and unusual font. So for me, Barcelona returning to this logo would be an immediate improvement, as shown by the white away jersey that they had where they used an old version. It looked glorious. So I would love Barca to go back to this logo. Next up, let's go to Austria, where we are looking actually quite good. Most of the traditional teams have old logos. And yes, I don't count Red Bull Salzburg, but they have more or less their old logo. We had one team that really was the most glaring example in Altach that is now about to go back to the old logo, a logo that I really never liked all that much, but the fan base of course likes. But the one team that I really would like to change actually was so close of getting it right. It's of course my own team, Lask. They went from the previous logo to this monstrosity that is very, very simple in a way. Too simple, if you would like. Also lost the character by making the L here black instead of red. That was a sign that I really liked. But the old logo, which was very similar to it, had also a round logo on top, which now was separated out here. And this is just a reworked version of the original Lask logo that every fan would like to have. Even more damning, as far as I know, Lask never have worn such a logo, any type of this logo on any of their jerseys except as a secondary logo or as part of their main logo, but never as the only logo on there. That was always something that bugged me. And ideally, it is even without the circle around it, just the flag, but that would be a major improvement. That would get everyone on board. Again, this is the logo I would like to see. The only thing that I can say against this logo, it looks very much like a Sturm Graz logo, but there's red in there as well. And if you lose the circle around it, it would be very similar. Everyone in Austria recognizes this as the Lask logo. That we never had this on a jersey is actually a true shame. Going to the Premier League, I chose two teams. The one I have to choose because they were so close of having it right. Actually, they had it right, and then they went back to something even worse than they had before. Talking, of course, of Villa. This crest is the one that I kind of got used to. I mean, Villa had many different crests over the time, but I never thought this so bad because it actually sticks quite out with the background. That is quite nice. But I understand, if you look at it alone, the main of the club colors is this chocolatey maroony color. So I understand why this is. The lion in yellow, though, I thought was really cool. It should be the Scottish one, so maybe red would have been better. And then they released, and I don't have a full color version, they released just about a bit more than a year ago, this one, a circle logo that is very, very similar to the one logo that they had in the 80s and before. That actually makes a whole lot of sense. Maybe keep the lion in yellow, not in maroon, and I think it would have been perfect. Maybe not such a modern lion, but one that looks in the other direction. Any case, I thought they had perfection. And then Adidas released some really nice jerseys, but the new logo is a bastardization of this one. It doesn't look better when it says Aston Villa up top. It's just weird. While Villa might be a sort of a damning example, the one team that I really would like to return to their old logo, and I know they will never do it, but I think they should think about reworking, is Arsenal. This one, I never understood why there's the blue up there. I never understood why they switched the cannon. And I never understood why they chose such a weird font when you had just such a perfect old style font. English football is old. The crest should reflect that. I always like this crest so much more. Just look at it. Absolutely gorgeous. And there have been different variations of that one. This one I always felt kinda cheap. So yeah, I would love Arsenal to go back to a style more akin to this one. Over in France, two candidates. I mean, they're a little bit more. I mean, OL had some really cool old logos, although I could really like the current one. OM, you could argue that maybe what they had around the 90s was a little bit better than what they have currently, but the current one is not bad at all. The one big team that I think has really cheapened their logo is, of course, PSG. Just compare these two. The modern logo here puts the focus on Paris, but it makes the Eiffel Tower look like a children's toy. Here the Eiffel Tower has proper dimensions. I also think that here you only have the lily below the Eiffel Tower, where here is the crib of Louis XIV and also the lily under there, which makes it much better. And why do we need to have Paris in the logo? I mean, as an Eiffel Tower on your logo anyway. So I never understood, and I think that this one is a much nicer logo. Even maybe not the white outline, maybe you can have a blue outline, but make it smaller. I think this looks a whole lot better than this one. But while I just can't about live with the PSG logo, it's still recognizable. The one team where I really think there is a major rebranding necessary to go back to something old is Nantes. I want to see this crest again. I understand the Mon logo, it's very much the Juventus style, but this one is so much better. If you look at the history of Nantes logos, there has always been a ship. Here is a ship. I absolutely love this crest. It has a very unique shape, not this shield with an N on it. This one, so much nicer. And as soon as they let go of this one, they stopped winning titles, honestly. Yes, they had a more modern one where there just was the wave in there. But I think this was just perfect. Even the one that they had before the current one had still the ship, but it didn't look quite right. This is just simple, iconic. Please not. Go back to this one. And this leaves us now with Italy. In Italy, yeah, there are plenty of candidates. Fortunately, Milan is not one of them. Milan always has done slight adjustments to their crest in recent times, but never a major revamp. You don't need to touch it. Inter was a candidate. However, I think their crest doesn't look too dissimilar, although still worse than the previous one. But I like that it uses the club's colors. The only thing is, it has only been used twice on a shirt in this configuration. Other than it's all monochromatic nonsense. So just about Inter did not make the cut. However, there's one team that really I would like to go back to something old, and I actually have two versions of it. We're talking Roma. I don't dislike this crest. It has the shape that I associate with Roma. However, there are two things that bother me. Do we need to have Roma in 1927 on there? It kind of seems so modern, and also the capital line wolf goes within the red. Now let's look at two alternatives. The first one is go to the previous logo. The capital line wolf now sits on the red as a pedestal, and the ASR looks really cool. I think this would be my preferred way to go back. However, there's another option that they have used already, which is of course go with the Lupetto. Maybe even lose the circle around the Lupetto, similar to what I said for the Lusk logo. I think every Roma fan would be really, really happy. Club probably also, because you can make this more monochromatic. However, if you were to ask me, I would go with this one and use the Lupetto for just some special occasions. But of course, the team that really needs to go back to the old logo is none other than Juventus. And it's so bad that I don't even have a jersey with the current logo, except for this beautiful one where the logo is in an all-over pattern within the shirt. I like the zebra. I'm not necessarily sure whether we should go back to the zebra. I hated that J when it came out. I see it's actually a very smart campaign, and it is very recognizable Juventus at the moment. It has become an iconic logo, but not one that I really, really like. So, while the return to the zebra on this jersey was a really cool touch, and this is an absolutely gorgeous shirt, I would like to go back to something older. And no, I'm not talking about this option here. It is better than the previous one, however, I've still found this rather cheap. What I really would like to see is the previous iteration. This one here. Just look at how nice the bull looks, the crown, and especially the concave shape here of the Juventus lettering. Yes, we can work maybe a little bit on the lettering, but this looks really cool. This one, especially the way the Juventus and it's underlined, it's just too modern, not too old looking. Juve is an old club. There's a reason why they call it the old lady. Would love to see them go back to this one. I think, similar to Arsenal, there's some copyright restrictions with these two elements, the crown and the bull of Turin, and I guess with Torino also in there. But still, either one of these is better than what we had previously, and I guess strong preference for this one. And there you have it. A few teams that I would like to go back to their old logos, or one team that already has gone to a back logo and another one I'm wearing here. Do you like my suggestions? What are teams that you would like to go back to their logos? Please drop a line in the comments below. Also, please let me know if you'd like me to talk more about modern logos and what I like and dislike about them, and why I sometimes understand a change and sometimes it just makes no sense. And lastly, would you be interested in a video where I critique logos or rank logos? That would also be something fun to do, but you know, time is always a little bit more limited these days. Any case, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like these. I'll talk to you soon about more things in my soccer universe. Bye! Hey there! I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!